Today, lads, we're going to talk a little bit about the fourth quarter, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how the Atlanta Dream, in my opinion, just had no answer for Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever in that fourth quarter. And realistically, for quite a bit of the second half, they had no answer for an aggressive.
The Atlanta Dream's coaching staff had no answers for Caitlin Clark, and honestly, they wouldn't be the first. By the time the final buzzer echoed through the arena, sealing the Indiana Fever's commanding 99-82 win, the disbelief was written all over their faces. Clark wasn't just good, she was unstoppable. Once again, a coach was left stunned, trying to make sense of the storm she had just unleashed on their team.
Let me say this about the Atlanta Dream. Y'all was hanging in there for 2 quarters, but then y'all ran out of gas. Cause you know why? The Indiana Fever ran y'all out y'all own building, and it was a sight to see. Y'all was huffing and puffing, trying to get some air and find some extra wind, and y'all couldn't.
This is what happens when players make the mistake of calling her the 9th best point guard in the league. Caitlin Clark doesn't waste energy on critics, doesn't feed into the noise, and certainly doesn't let anyone else's rankings define her worth. She lets her game speak, and when it does, it shouts. She dominates, delivers, and makes winning look effortless.
There's no surprise that the Indiana Fever looked best tonight when the offense was ran through Caitlin Clark. There's no surprise that the offense looked best tonight when we pushed the ball off of a make, pushed the ball off of a miss. There's no surprise that the Indiana Fever looked best tonight when Caitlin Clark was surrounded by players that don't have an ego, surrounded by players that said, I'm going to be MVP of the WNBA this year. And you see how easy it is when you just let Caitlin play ball and others follow suit.
What we saw against the Atlanta Dream wasn't just a basketball game. It was a statement. It was Caitlin Clark unleashed. Finally given the freedom to run the show, to set the pace, and to have the offense flow through her hands, she didn't just play, she orchestrated. Her stat line may say 12 points. But don't let the numbers fool you. With 9 assists and total command of the tempo, Clark dismantled the Dream with a masterclass in control and creation.
Made sure Caitlin Clark had the ball in her hands. She became the creator of offense. That's what we've been saying. Her and Aaliyah Boston, I believe it was 4 times, got the Stockton-Malone 2-man game working. Dantas got involved at one point. With Caitlin Clark. Caitlin was still off on her shooting tonight.
The most remarkable part, Stephanie White finally let Caitlin Clark play her game, fast, fearless, and fully in control. No handcuffs, no hesitation. Everything flowed through her, just as it should. She didn't even need to light it up from 3 to make a statement. Her presence alone dictated the game. The Dream's coach may have game planned for Clark, but he wasn't ready for this version. Unleashed, unfiltered, and running at full throttle.
Even when she wasn't exactly getting when it wasn't her putting the ball in the basket or her showing up on the stat sheet, she was burning Jordan Canada. And people don't understand how good Jordan Canada is on defense. She was absolutely burning Jordan Canada. Canada could not stay in front of her. And that is a big thing. That is genuinely a big thing, that if you can't stay in front of her, it creates a space for everybody else. And there were some hockey assists, there was good ball movement, there was a lot of things. There was a lot of real positives when it came to Caitlin Clark.
You know what's poetic about all of this? The Dream coaching staff likely spent hours dissecting film, mapping out traps, and crafting defensive strategies tailored to contain Caitlin Clark. They probably talked about double teams, full court pressure, making her earn every inch. But when the dust settled and the scoreboard flashed 99-82 in favor of the Fever, all that preparation meant nothing. The coach stood there, speechless, having just watched his team get dismantled, not by the league's top-ranked guard, but by the one they laughably listed as 9th.
Obviously, tough game. I thought we had a good first half. We were really competitive. Second half, we just had so many defensive breakdowns, and give them credit. They were getting extra possessions, and those extra possessions were turning into points just about every single time. So, just valuing ending their possession. It's not enough to force a tough shot. We got to come down with the ball. And then, we had some defensive breakdowns that they made us pay for. They were able to extend the lead, and then at the end we had to, do some gambling and do some things that really were not that equipped.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe, because this isn't some one-off moment. Coaches all across the WNBA have been left scratching their heads after going up against Caitlin Clark. Remember when they thought they had her figured out? When they assumed the jump from college to the pros would humble her. Instead, she's not just adjusting, she's redefining what greatness looks like at this level. And the irony? Oh, it's rich. These same coaches who spend days rewriting their defensive game plans just to slow her down, who trap her like she's peak Michael Jordan, had the nerve to rank her as the 9th best guard in the league. 9th. They scheme like she's a generational threat, then pretend she's just another rookie. They foul her hard and call it strategy. They minimize her impact while reshaping their entire defense around her. But when the lights are brightest and the pressure's real, they are the ones left exposed, outcoached, outplayed, and outclassed by the very player they tried to diminish.
Atlanta Dream were able to really neutralize Caitlin Clark in the first half, and I know Caitlin Clark had 5 first half assists, but they were able to neutralize Caitlin Clark's impact on the game in that first half. And in the second half, regardless of the box score numbers, how Caitlin completely took over. So the big way they were able to neutralize Caitlin Clark, and I think it was almost an issue with Stephanie White as much as anything, is they were...
Against the Atlanta Dream, something special happened. We saw Stephanie White finally lean into what Iowa fans have known for years. Caitlin Clark is at her most dangerous when she's in control, dictating the pace and rhythm of the game. For much of this season, we've watched White try to squeeze Clark into a system that didn't fit her unique skill set. We've seen the visible frustration when she's parked in the corner while someone else initiates the offense. But against Atlanta, that script flipped. White finally realized what should have been clear from the start. Trying to rein in Caitlin Clark's instincts is like trying to cage a hurricane. When you're blessed with a generational talent, you don't force her to adapt to your system. You adapt your system to elevate her. And that's exactly what we witnessed: freedom, flow, and a glimpse of what the Fever can become when they stop holding back their superstar.
You saw Clark sort of gaining her rhythm as the game went along, sort of returning to her form as the game went along, finding that pep in her step as the game went along, even though the shooting numbers were tour dates again, and she's got to find that shooting stroke at some point. Look, it can't go on all year, but you understand where some of those struggles come from when you deal with a quad injury and then a groin injury, and you're thrust back into the lineup and you're trying to find your way. But I do think it was the way that Clark found her way to the basket that was the difference in this game, really. That was what changed the dynamics of
The Dream's coach could only watch helplessly as Caitlin Clark took full command, orchestrating the Fever's offense like a master conductor. She created shots for her teammates out of thin air, threaded passes through invisible seams, and made real-time adjustments that left Atlanta's defense in chaos. Even when her threes weren't dropping, she was still the engine, controlling the tempo, directing traffic, and dictating the flow of the game. But what made this performance truly special wasn't just her individual brilliance. It was how she elevated everyone around her. That's the part the critics always ignore. Her impact isn't measured only in points or highlights. It's in how she raises the level of those beside her. That's what real greatness looks like, and Clark put it on full display.
An inconsistent ride for Indiana, and for Clark as well, who's had to fight through a lot of injuries. But I think the encouraging thing from Cece was the fight that she showed on the floor. Clearly, she's not quite at 100%, still working her way back, hasn't found her three ball yet, but what she did was attack. She used the physicality against the defenders by putting her head down and going to the basket. That opened things up for her playmaking, which of course is another genius aspect of her game. Once that started clicking, the Fever ran away with things. Sophie Cunningham was everywhere. Clark had it going with Aaliyah Boston again. Kelsey Mitchell was cooking. And all of a sudden, you look up and the Fever are lighting up the score.
When Caitlin Clark is playing her brand of basketball, pushing the pace, attacking in transition, and creating with freedom, the entire Fever roster becomes a different animal. Kelsey Mitchell gets cleaner looks. Aaliyah Boston finds space to operate in the post. And role players like Sophie Cunningham suddenly find themselves wide open on the perimeter. The Dream's coach had no answer for this version of Caitlin Clark, because this version is unstoppable. When she's confident, when she's dictating tempo, when she's free to be the floor general that made her a household name at Iowa, she doesn't just play well. She transcends. She elevates the game and everyone in it.
They were manhandling Caitlin Clark early in that game. Like, they had two hands on her. They were fully getting into the we are grabbing her and we don't really care. Like, that was their goal. Their goal was they were out there to maul Caitlin Clark. They had absolutely no intention of doing anything other than mauling Caitlin Clark.